guys, it's Becca.
Rachel.
So I think to wrap up this series, we want to just kind of give our thoughts on the events of this past weekend, and that'll kind of be the end of all of this.
Yeah, when we started, we didn't think we were gonna get here.
Yeah. So, context. On Thursday morning, we went and had a meeting with the superintendents, and we just told them our experiences and the things that had happened when we were in TFCs, and then also shared with them the information that we were allowed to share with them. And from there, we had like a 2.5-hour meeting, and at the end of it, at the end of it, the conference said, like, we hear you and we want to do something. Just give us some time to figure this out. And we didn't know what that was going to look like. We didn't know what their decision was going to be. And so we kind of walked into the rest of the day kind of like, okay, well, we'll see what happens.
Yep.
And so we found out about TFCs being suspended with everybody else.
We had no idea that was going to be the outcome.
Yeah.
At all.
So, I mean, basically just like a friend texted us. So where were you when you got that text?
I was in my kitchen. I was making noodles. And I was stirring, and I looked down on my phone and I saw that, and I just put everything down and started crying. And then I lost feeling in my whole body, ended up on my kitchen floor. And then I cried there for a while. It was a great time. And then I remembered that I was cooking noodles, and I had to get back to that. But it's this huge feeling of, like, things happen in church, and they're swept under the rug, and you don't talk about it. And we decided to talk about it, and change happened. And that's just crazy to think that it went from a video being recorded in my Jeep that I don't live in, by the way, and now I'm here. And this thing that hurt me is now shut down. And it was just like wow, that happened.
Yeah.
Where were you?
So I was at work, and I work at like a refugee house kind of thing, so I can kind of go in and out and do what I need to do. And so I read the text, and I knew that, like, I wasn't going to process this well. And so I went out to my car, and I called my boyfriend, and just as I heard his voice, like, all of a sudden I was able to feel everything. I was able to cry. I was able to, like, express myself. And I was just like, I need you to just stay on the phone for a second. And I just ugly cried for, like, a good 10 minutes. Just kind of experiencing all the emotions of it. I know that, like, for you, it's been a lot easier to process. I'm not saying that it's because, like, you're a bad person. I just mean, like, it was easier for you to process. For me, there was a lot of feelings of, like, being that 16-year-old kid again, and just feeling like I was the bad guy, and, like, I was, that I owed this undeserved loyalty.
I think it's funny that you feel like you owed them, and I feel like I owed my 16-year-old self.
Yeah, and I'm still, like, at the end of all my feelings, there is that. Like, when I come to the end of my feelings, there's this feeling of, like, pride and gratefulness and, like, surety that this is the step that needed to be taken, this is the action, and this is a good thing. Mm-hmm. It's more just, like, processing these feelings that are just part of shame and guilt culture, and feeling like I owed something to people that hurt me, and that like really messed up mentality of, like, hurt people, and, like, realizing that I'm not a hurt person hurting people. I'm a hurt person who's saying, hey, we need to stop hurting people.
Yeah. And that's big.
Yeah. Well, and that's really hard to unpack when you feel that, like, shame and guilt of being, like, 16 and owing people who covered things up and manipulated people and kind of treated their jobs as, like, being little ego trips for themselves.
Yeah.
And So yeah, I think at the end of the day, like, I'm still getting there, but I do feel like this was a positive, and this is the church saying, hey, we're not going to stand for this anymore. And like that in and of itself is like a big monumental win.
And I think that you guys get to share this win with us. We couldn't have done this without your stories,
No.
or your support, or I don't want to say views, but views. I mean,
well, your views allowed it to get to a point where this mattered and this became a discussion. So it's not so much about like, yay, we're getting views and like we matter. It's more about like, this sparked conversation because you guys shared it and watched it and sent it to your friends and sent it to people so that it could continue to spark conversation.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I think both of us, one of the first things that we talked about was the fact that like growing up in the church, especially like growing up in the Free Methodist Conference, like both of us did, we had never experienced being heard by
that's exactly what I was going to say too. Heard
by an authority figure. Like pretty much every situation is like, how is God going to use you through this, and how do we make you stop talking?
Yep.
And as an adult, I recognize that like if this had happened to me this year, I would not have I wouldn't have brushed it aside. I wouldn't have allowed anything to stop me from saying, hey, this is wrong and we need to stop doing this. So why am I allowing 16-year-old me to not see that played out? And why am I allowing other kids to have to experience that because they don't know how to speak up for themselves?
Right.
So, I think the other thing is like, to the superintendents and to the conference, thank you. Thank you for being the authority in the church that actually wants to be better and wants to do something and wants to make change.
Yeah, thank you for listening to us the whole 2.5 hours. And thank you for deciding that you weren't just going to sweep it under the rug like we expected you to.
Yeah. That's such a issue in the fundamentalist Christian church. And you said, we're not going to continue this. And that's a massive step in the right direction.
Yeah, you broke a cycle.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You are what the church is supposed to look like. Like, Jesus flipped tables. He didn't say, how do we quiet this down?
Yeah.
So, thanks for flipping some tables.
Yep. You're a good table flipper.
So, yeah, I think at this point, like...
There's nothing. We've said everything.
There's nothing really more to continue with this series. Like, this is a really good wrap-up point because, you know, the whole point was to bring awareness about what's happening in this organization, and we did that. And at this point, the conference is going to take it into their hands, and we'll continue to share information with them and cooperate with them and give them...
Yeah, continue sharing your stories with us.
Yeah.
Go do the Google Doc. It's going to be up still. I mean, as much as there is an outcome that happened, your stories aren't over. Our stories aren't over. So...
Well, and they're still investigating, so we want to be able to give them the information that comes to us and can help them along and figure out how they want to go forward. At this point, it's like out of our hands. It's up to them as to what they want to do, and I trust them because of the way that they've already handled this to make discerning and positive decisions.
Yeah.
And that whatever the outcome is at the end, your kids are going to be safe, your kids are going to be looked after, and your kids are not going to continue to be put into traumatic situations that they have to unpack at 26. So at this point, like, we don't want to shut everything off and silence people who have already been silenced long enough, but we don't need to keep talking about specifically TFCs.
We don't need to live in trauma.
Yeah. At this point, we're ready to move forward to what healing looks like and how do we, as us and also as a community with the people who have come forward and talk to us and feel like they're finally having their voices heard, like how do we as a community move forward? So check out our next video for kind of talking about that specifically. But as far as the series, like, this is kind of the end. This is the
Yeah, this is the wrap up.
Yeah,
it's over.
There's nothing really more for us to say. Because of your stories, change is being made, and I think that's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So you should be very proud of yourselves.
Yeah. And thank you guys for speaking up and talking about the hard stuff and talking about the things that hurt. Because we both know how hard that is. We told our stories at the meeting with the conference, and that was not easy. That was not comfortable. And I mean, I can imagine it's 10 times more uncomfortable to have your story out there to whoever wants to watch it. So thank you guys for being open and honest with us and allowing us to be open and honest with everyone else. But yeah.
But that's it. So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, check out our next video, and let's figure out where to go from here.
Yes.
But thank you guys for all the support during all of this, and I'm really happy how all of this went. We spent a year figuring out how to do this, and I think that it's been a really great journey.
No regrets.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Bye, guys. Bye. God damn it, every time.